Good morning, everybody.
Oh, let's touch it. Yeah. Sanje, Chedang, Soje,
Ichonam no chanchu pada da dingi gapsu chi da gi chonyen gi pe tsaknam kin cholam panchu san ejo par so
Sanje, Chedang,
chodang so ki chonam no chanchu pada da dingi gapsu chi da gi chonyen gi pe tsaknam ki cholam panchu san ejo par so so ki chonam no chanchu Pada dani gapsu chi dagi chanyin gipe tsaknam gain jolam pandra sange inge jupar so gate para som gate body soha antayata gate para som gate body swaha gate para som gate body swaha
올라서다 심제 탐제가 더 톱잘라나 마시고 산지에 고마를 뭐지 진내야 도바차 이체도 안배 장주스면 랍전의 최시도 냐도 랑고 랑와래 신고 심벌을推过 推제쇼 마노와 치코데 난 갑서 봐봐대 게세치 보시 와라 세바 주주가 되는 제시 주민이 삼삼체
So this connection is not good again. I cannot make out any words, but I presume you're talking about, well, first of all, we're setting our motivation to do whatever we can to attain the state of enlightenment. In order to do so, we must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings, in turn, we must have a good understanding of what they are about. And we gain this understanding by being able to have faith and trust in a reliable source. And so we have this in mind today to listen to the King of Mind Training text, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as composed by the great master Shantideva.
아니 뒤쪽도 내신체는 랑게 둥게 나가라 아니 다 소신 셋업도 아니 아니 뭐랑게 진짜 자외 라마 이봐 나바도 마샤제 투바 아니 셰지 차니 예산에 예냠샤게 되는 두세고만 루제 나바 꿀라 추고 뭐메가 도저 세워 어떤 주고 마셔
And so we also, of course, set up our merit field in the space in front, which is consisting of, in fact, our own root guru, but in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, who has one face, two hands, with the right hand in the earth touching mudra, and the left hand in the mudra of meditative equipoise, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar.
랑게 타고도야 아니 랑게 체디 파마 생가마 디가마 자 토마메바네 징기 껴배 아니 지금 진진게 막에 가서 감속을 진진게 막에 심제 탐제 마스모 메바요 섭섭체
And that all around us are all kind mother sentient beings, beginning with the parents of this life, and then the previous life to this, the one previous to that, and so on, back to a beginningless time, so that we have in the area around us all kind mother sentient beings since beginningless time without exception.
다 동게 나가라 세다가 라마 투베 홍보데 아니 지오 옴가버 템바 아모 투가 홍보베 이게 좀 세다 투가 홍레에서 빠도 메버 트네 다 가자 저거 아니 가서 감성이 심제 탐제게 내도 디디 탐제 세워체네 아니 디 계획 잡아데 아니 가서려 아니 동성个지대 가 용서라 하다 미 쳐봐 아니 나서 봐지 트네 아니 초지개와 세다 제발 야 쳐봐피 초지개와 세다 제발 쳐봐피 와라 때는 초지개와 세다 제발 투길래 아니 쳐봐도 다게 세다 투길래 대화 좀 대화 동반 대돈이스면 이시 계속 삼삼체
And then we see that the figure of the Guru Buddha in the merit field is marked by the three syllables, Om at the crown, A at the throat, and Hung at the heart center. And then countless rays of light emanate out from the hung at the heart center, entering into all sentient beings and purifying all of their negativities and obscurations that they have accumulated since beginningless time. And the merit thus accumulated is manifested as offerings to all of the Buddhas and the children of the Buddhas in the 10 directions. And they, on receiving this offering, are pleased, and this then transforms into the bliss which combines with voidness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
Delega Yugu ala tena an choji gyawa sada chewa ge kusonto yu yende yimbala naba rangi dungi nangala sada lama tuwe ombe nabala chen chane an rangi kom dunla sada lama tuwe ombe kula rwa kula ma timne ta kaso rangi dunla sada lama tuwe ombe kusonto la pa timne an mua chigdu dunla ta mua yeme kyusu samsa che zaongwa nisu meba kyusu ta 가서 뉴스 매번 줘서 와서 25분 거 수도 어떻게 줘서 삼사차 아니 근데 그 라마 투에 온거 도가리 양조 왜서 줘발을 때는 아니 가서 다 가자 가서 온게 하나 젠타 온게 하나 젠타네 아니 가서 아니 대시샤바 탐제가 될라 뭐 온거도 셔서 왔다 발 때는 아니 원래 온거 할 때는 아니 그 류타리 시기 두제카 아니 두제가 취라마 제도 내발에 아니 저 미개가 오게 되는 거죠. 어떤지 공부하셔. 들리 주소서도 공부하셔.
And then is all the kind of continuums of all these Buddhas and the children of the Buddhas, they're as if they can come and dissolve into the crown of the Guru Buddha in the merit field in the form of the wisdom beings. And thus we feel that the Buddha has been consecrated by these wisdom beings, representative of all of the Buddhas of all the times, and they are now inseparable in qualities from all of those Buddhas. Again, light rays emanate from the heart center of the Guru Buddha in our merit field, and this time inviting back all of the empowering deities from their natural abodes. And they are entreated to give the nectar of empowerment. And in so doing, again, they offer that nectar which overflows at the crown, thereby producing the figure of Akshobhya.
아니 이바다 안 당하는 집 아니 25분 거 수주요 뭐다 들리지 뭐 들리잖아 뭐 들리게 라마토비 홍보대 뭐 디야 디 아니 나라서도 투어제 나라서도 람라라 나라서도 뭐 봐서 뭐 산제 뭐 임바디 이뭐 뭐죠 같이 뭐 들리죠.
And so this figure of in the merit field, the Guru Munindra, who is now one with all of the Buddhas of all times, and that has been fully consecrated by the wisdom beings, and that we have that recognition that the Guru Munindra has, for our sake, generated the mind of enlightenment, for our sake, proceeded along the path, and for our sake, manifested this full and complete enlightenment. And so we have this sense of great rejoicing in being in the presence of the Guru Munindra as such. And so as well as ourselves and in all the minds of all the sentient beings all around us, the triple faith arises, the pure faith, faith of conviction and manifest faith.
아니 대 라마 두배 온벽에 고손도게 연대 tembe 거나 다외 다와 이제게 또 뭐도 그때 받들렸지 랑게 타고니 말씀자 탐제라 아니 대화도죠 대화 보면 대화 동네에 동네에 나되겠지 어디를 들었잖아 엔텔 때 심제 대다 탐제라 미베 아니 가서돼요 니제 그러와 다들 되게 니제 용할라야 아니 가서도 남주시원이시 가서돼요 가서 이용하게 잡아 이왕게 잡발래야 아니 마셰 텐테 티솔라 소바티데 게 아니 가서데 때데게 시텔라 때네 야나 가서데 지 가서데 가서데 야나데 가서데 딱간자 지게 다들 주주코라 주주고 수는 소원을 시대 딱시 냠자다 때들라 때네 이왕게 잡았게 투야 이왕게 잡았게라 엔텔라 비서베 니제 용투야지 어디래지 아니 데레가 니제 좋은데 아니 니제 데레 니제다 니제데 고소데 자주 생게 줄을 좀 니제 쳐보고 생데 차봐라 니제 쳐보고 생데 깜되고 니제 생데 아니 대화데 데도 잡아히한테 아니 대화데 때마다 동네를 잡아 예지기 빠지가 줘도 아니 다 소소 누가 마땅하지 시행으로 봐 학습 깨는 저는 뭐지도 어떤 데 제너럴 누가도 술을 줘서 아니 심제도 투자 라라라 공부도 상제와 공부 공부하시더라 또 디면은 누가도 당사 말해 가서는 공부 공부하더라 아니 계제를 있는 규모 트위터 가서 심제 감도 뭐와 발라냐와 지다 와서도 경계 와서 아니 현재 주변 누가 찾아다한대요 와다 대마도는 탐문도 섭다 심제 탐제 사제고 말도 주바지 사서 공부하셔
So just to reflecting on the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of the Guru Manindra as our merit field, this faith arises then in ourselves and in all sentient beings. But we have an acute awareness of how, on the one hand, the sentient beings want happiness but are bereft of that happiness, and they want to be free of suffering but are inundated by that suffering. And so this sense of compassion arises, and that this compassion comes from this sense of affectionate love, and this affectionate love arises on the basis of the three causes of seeing all sentient beings as one's mother, remembering the kindness of the mother, and wishing to repay the kindness of the mother. And so once this arises, then we can have a fully qualified affectionate love and a fully qualified great compassion arising from that. And this is based on for example, the method of generating the mind of enlightenment coming from Master Shantideva, being the equalizing and exchange of self and other. Um, and so this then, all of the compassion that's mentioned in the context of these mind training methods for generating the mind of enlightenment is, of course, great compassion. And so that can lead to that mind of enlightenment. But from that compassion, we can generate love, wishing to to place all sentient beings in happiness. And then quickly from there, we have that sense of kind of like exalted intention of really feeling the responsibility to do all this on our own. But we realize how limited we are, that we can't even do this for one sentient being. On the other hand, we know the state of mind from which we can achieve that very, very efficiently, and that is the state of enlightenment itself. Why? Because it's from that special position that the Buddha can, in each moment, ripen the minds of those those beings that are not yet ripened, who works on the basis of having a complete knowledge of the dispositions and aspirations and the various karmic connections of all sentient beings. And therefore, it becomes very clear to me that I really have to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings.
오다 심지 탐제 산제 고마마도 담아도 토바지 스들을 로직고 아니 된데게 dum바디 아니 랑게 니게 커돌라 아니 랑게 니게 로수다 가자 이게 아치를 주소서 아용서 줘라 다외 진고 냐가와서 주소 서로 공부하자
And so we generate this as a powerful aspiration, this attitude, until we see the seed syllable and at our heart center, which transforms into the moon disk mandala seed.
오다 심지 탐제 군도 산제 고마 로다 산제 고마 토게 다 토바지기 있어 다 토바지기 라게 나데 걸레스도 그러와 ngati ka listo ani tseche ngati ani kabato ngati rawan de tuba chele do ma tuba chele sha to rawan de tuba ina ta tamshi mere rubi saga che me do ko dupte yo mare ko rawan de dupte na ko juate yo mar ba juate ta no go semje re ani semje ne sanje cha yo mare 동해 나 때문에 동해 나오 많이 봐 차요 막 동해 때 라완의 주바이나 다 근데 동해 나 되긴 가사 근데 동해 나올 미스 왜 이제 가사 라완의 줍도 줍도 딱 지체네 다 라완의 줍도 여와 이래 아니 먼저 깔래 잘 쳐요 말해 그 라완의 줍 사죠 그 요당 요 말와 아니 저 라완의 줍도 줍도 딱 지체 원도 아니 저 야나 가지 다 가르샤 가지 랑게 셈데 ngare tuya rangi lude ngade de luda semle sheba ngachi tuge ta tse jo do da rangi ti lu gaza ta ju lu sem ni ge ten da tse jo ngro tse jo do da ni ge yo mare lude nga yisna nga ge tse jo ju jan sa ni ge yo mare sem de sha do sem ge ge cha che on do di le sa du du sa ni ge yo mare ta mani ba ta ran ga sem sha ne.
So then considering how I wish to attain in the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, where is that sense of I, or what is the status of that I that I'm referring to? Where is it to be found? Is it something that is a supported? Um, but if so, there would be no way forward, because that notion of an inherently existent, objectively existent, self-supported I is something that can't change. There will be no change. And so here, um, we have to ask the question about, so for example, the person who is the I that is trying to generate a sense of compassion by looking at the suffering of other sentient beings and finding it unbearable. Where is that I that is feeling that sense of concern and compassion for others? Again, looking into for that sense of self, is it in the body? Is it in the mind? And we look into the parts of the body, taking them apart, searching for this sense of I that stands out as if it was self-supported. And then looking into the past and future moments of the mind, the consciousness itself. And then it's this not finding it, this point of reaching the end of the analysis where we reach that simple, say, this not finding the object of negation and placing our mind just on that absence.
어디가 셈샤 어디 가자 가좀 많이 봤다가란 걸 셈샤 어디서
Just trying to keep our focus placed on that, the mere negation of the object of negation.
뭐다 되게 로 이제는 좀 두서 많이 봤다가 셈샤 다가 예배 로디 아니 가서 되게 네가 거들 네가 위해서 다와 다외기 뭐냐 강화 뒤때도 이게 홍지라 줘서 수업자자 어디가 셈도 하자 뭐 요소 주발에 도시 가고 쟁아 봐 홍게 서봐요 같이 어디서 줘서 수업자자.
And so it's by placing and keeping our focus on this, the moment of the mere negation of the object of negation. And then we seeing out of this arising the syllable hung. And then this is on the moon disk at our heart center. This hung in turn transforms into an upright five-pronged vajra, which is marked again by that syllable hung.
어디 아니 라다라가 타고도 심지어 탐제 다 아니 랑게 동게 나가라 세다 아마 두려워 두갈래 다오도 진짜가 뭐 어떤데 지어가지고 공부해
And we see how now at the heart centers of myself and all the sentient beings all around me is this combination of the moon disk mandala, on top of which sitting the five-pronged Vajra.
다 되게 장주 셈게 촌데 다와디다 돈이도 셔라 촌데게 아니 도지 홍게 첨바티니 아니 뒤 남양 아니 와서도 마당 와처럼 산제 고모 마도가 봐도 아니 디 진도가 지금 있지 아니 맞게와 깨봐 관을 건도 배워 지금 서도 공부하시
And so we kind of make this pledge to ourselves that this mind of enlightenment, symbolized by the moon disk mandala seed, and this wisdom of emptiness, symbolized by the five-pronged upright Vajra, marked by the syllable Hum, that we will never be separated from these mind states, and that wherever they are not generated, may they generate, and whatever has been generated of them, may that increase and flourish forevermore.
당장 먼저 뭐봐 이제 그 삼로당와 삼로를 이내디 뿌다다 다네 근데 다와 도저 문에 장주스 천지상 왔어요. 근데 뿌다다 다네 당장 먼저 뭐봐 이제 그게 아니 가서데 다 도지 쟁아봐 가서래 홍게 참바디 뭐봐 이제 그게 문에 장네 그 동ning 고소 도배 셔라고 뭐 주도 지에지 我到底当我这领个做的，他meaningful life，我他地里他，那三界我们台湾这个东南世界是他地的呢，讲究个什么的，当你特别现在就是我是马上的，是吧？马上的，这马当初这地瓜咱们吃，那瓜的呢，那他说的也比大的，那就是说什么，他说推崇个瓜吃，那等下什么就瓜吃，等下。 아니 엄청 거 돈에다 뭐서도 또 도와지는다 뭐도 유튜브잖아 어다디 뭐도 동네세에 대화 주변에 락자 돌아 말에 수고 대당 고구도 돌아 고구도 이내 대담디 조다 뭐도 태송래 다 장주거서다 돈이 도배 싫으면 또 맞아다 동네세에 대화 주변에 맞아 또 되대 좋아 맞아 되대 但是这干究的、研究的、凶猛不修上，但最主要家也送下多。你嘛就把家光的拍到个，他是明朝真的送下多。大抵一般都我都你不都我吃吧真的，哎，这他就那么当个面，这略当个面，大抵我他娘子浪土吧这个意思，我的恐怕现在，哎，第一阶段他反正就这个这那我特别我们关系门啊，那就这个兄弟。 생긴 사도 고마샤.
And of course, you know, when we talk like this and visualize things like this, we're really operating at the level of imagination and aspiration. But we can also be, you know, really making a sincere pledge and sincere promise to do whatever we can to actually make this happen for real, that we can improve and improve and improve the level of what we are thinking and integrating that into every action of our lives, so that the mind of enlightenment itself no longer becomes something distant and intangible, but actually something that's real and very much part and parcel of all our motivation. And similarly, you know, when we talk about emptiness and the wisdom realizing emptiness, again, to make it that familiar in our thinking, in all of our thoughts and all of our decision making, you know, to integrate it like that is something, again, that will increase and increase and increase not only its frequency in our thinking, but also in depth and in sincerity. And this then can become also very much part and parcel of our own decision making. And this is what really makes for a meaningful life. It is the kind of basis, the very basis on which we build up a meaningful life. And this can begin through, the wisdom that we glean from learning at the outset, then through our own analyzing capacity. We develop the wisdom arising from contemplation, and ultimately to bring it to realization, generating the wisdom arising from meditation. And it's really, really important to understand that this is the heart of how we should emphasize everything in our lives, over and above, like, money and fitness, physical fitness, and so on. And of course, it's necessary to have enough, how do you say, comfort to be able to practice in this way. That's fine. But to really see that the main deposit in our welfare is the degree to which we never ever forget, but always try and increase the impact of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness in our day-to-day life. And to always hold that dear is very, very important. And it is with this intensity of motivation that we come to listen to some verses from the Bodhisattva's way of life this morning.
땡기 디기 산제 고말 요바 딱 건갈 요바 자기도 산제 고말 줄을 줘. 개와 치마 변제기 디기 줄을 줘. 치디기 디기를 줄을 줘. 좋아 딱고 저 가서데 가서 저기 나자 건갈 매 팽기게 매 소치래도. 나자 건갈 팽게 치디 디기를 팽되게. 개와 치마 디기를 팽되게 땡기 디기를 팽되게. 사이트베트 매죠. 다른 것도 치디 개치 뭐 치데데 그 사이트베트 시부도 chima penchara nyo te me dumu duwa, ta tse tile fenda nyo chara nyo maa re, nyo maa yunga tiga duwa. Ta tata de chanchu ka sada toni tobe shira ti nyamle dila sa chepe tse tile nyo go yoma, tse chima la nyo go yoma re, tenki tiki la nyo go, ma nyo ba kala, ane penpa pashi re duwa. Penpa pashi re duwa. Wata di ngozo gomba cha chen, gomba cha iti kechi mo re duwa. Di che do ta ngozo 디체도 모두 칼라사 디체도 nye 디체도 미래 게제셰 디체도 레갈레 디체도 미래 저와체 호다가자 디체도 다가자 미지 차상하제 야랑원에 니마지 저 야랑원에 많이 봐도 아니 녀와데 디체도 잔주서 돈이도 베셔라 맞게 뭐 권을 폰도 페치 호다 차상하제 디가라 그다 디톨 민도 왔잖아.
And so it's to be understood that, this focus on the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, that which is going to really look after the happiness that we yearn for in this life, the happiness that we are going to experience in future life, the definitive happiness, even to the point of the attainment of enlightenment itself. This is the quintessential medicine for all illness, and without any side effects. That there is only the solely benefit arising from this kind of medicine. And so it's that which we really need to dedicate every aspect of our lives, to commit ourselves to inclusion of the mind of enlightenment, the wisdom realizing emptiness in everything we do, in our playtime, in our work time, in our making connection with others, from the moment we get up in the morning to the moment we go to bed at night, and including our sleep time, that we have integrated these thoughts, this thinking of the emphasizing and keeping at the forefront the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness in our consciousness.
딜레다 랍쳐지 메디거레 딜레 랍쳐지 메디거레도 와다디 마다디 모저 모트베토네 모트베토네다 즉강 투도게 아니 베주 제트레도 호트레
And so really to recognize that there is no more superior ritual or practice than the practice of the mind of enlightenment together with the wisdom realizing emptiness. Sokrang nigya jume gye wogi chiktik and la somba bena lelo gane janjub drup nubanashi.
당가져 오래 당가져 나라도 가리 넣어서 소소 배주 맞아봐 다가란게 배주 맞아봐 다가란게 하대도 지다 지가서 산제의 릭스인데 산제의 릭스인데 다 지가서래 지 심지어 술에는 요르대 얘네야 양 거저 균주다 아니 저 녀손다 되게 있나 거 릭스에 누바도 못와 당가도 미르텔라 디나 된저고 르텔라 대바이나 당모서 가서 excuse 요 말이다. 어떤 지금 이거 뭐도 슬랍사 매버 가서 미 르텔라 디나 된저고 르텔라 대도 다 아니 다 가서 란데도 다 수바 베나 레로 칸에 자주 좀 봤다. 자주 레로 칸에 소소 레로 온게 쇼되고 여러면도 디야 딱 가서 자원 년생의 레로 온게 쇼되고 여러 야네 길루게 레로 온게 쇼되고 여러 뭐다 어디데 온게 쇼되기도 자원 년생 야네 길루바 ana tanya le nye ba wa ta nye tu bu ma re sa de de le lu ong sho de re men do rang zhe ge ge lu de ge ta ne mi lu to di na de zhe ge lu de top de wa de le ko ta ya la de se ba is chu ji se be bre de de ma de su ba su ba be na ana le lu so so ka tu wa ina ka ne cha ju du ni ba la xi che ana zhe be top ge na cha ju top ni ba sa ba cha ju zhe be sa ga je la nye ju du nge ge sa 찾아오는 매번 수지바 아니 매매 개비여서 초가 점비 내 처모 소한 제발 제발 안 수지바 대라 동에서 대라 동에 매제 대화 개발 가지고 오체 못하죠.
So we have arrived at a section of the text, which is a third outline, saying that if you make the effort and put a stop to laziness, then you have the capacity to attain enlightenment. And that this is really showing how, that our main fault is not making the required effort. And that, it's one thing to have the Buddha potential, as they say, that seed of enlightenment within. And we talk about how this seed of enlightenment is in animals and in the beings of this hungry spirit realm and the hell realm, etc. But they don't have the circumstances in which that seed can be awakened. That will not kind of germinate in those circumstances. However, from our point of view, we have no excuse. We have not just attained a human rebirth, but a precious human rebirth. And that this then is an extraordinary, beneficial, conducive state to be in order to overcome this laziness. And the lazinesses that are referred to are the laziness of clinging to negative actions, the laziness of defeatism, of thinking I can't do it, and the laziness of apathy, procrastination. And so here it's saying that if we put a stop to these kinds of laziness, then definitely enlightenment is possible. And this has 4 subheadings. And saying that through generating the enthusiastic effort, the power of enthusiastic effort, then we should reflect on how that makes enlightenment possible. Secondly, that we should be able to bear the hardships of attaining enlightenment, because that will put a stop completely to the suffering of the lower realms. And thirdly, that we should also be able to bear the kind of practices, or the gentle practice of the king of medicine, in order to overcome great disease. And fourthly, that it is right for us to really rejoice at the lack of suffering and the increase of happiness.
장보 샤장 보와다 대신 승부 간조와 대자 좀에 돕잖아 장조 토가 라메 돕자 안 다다 리기 미게라 팬단데 방고셰베 장조 줘봐 마다나 다지 장조 찜이 돕자
And so to talk about the first of the subheadings, that is that through generating the power of enthusiastic effort, definitely enlightenment is within reach. And verses number 18 and 19 discuss this point. If they develop the strength of their exertion, even those who are flies, mosquitoes, bees, and insects will win the unsurpassable awakening, which is so hard to find. So if I do not forsake the Bodhisattva's way of life, why should someone like myself, who has been born in the human race, not attain awakening, since I am able to recognize what is beneficial and what is of harm? 다다 뭐죠? 아니 되게 말해서 지금 둔둘게 삼로 가야 딱 마시게 되는 말이 다다랑 그 다다 어서 리기 쳐봐도 봐봐 미게 로다 미게 디나는 미게 뭐 맞아 안 디나는 다 저기 산재에 줄에 대봐 유게 이제 유게 소리 시게 되어라 다 대적을 리더서 미게 라라 판단돼 봐 뭐시면서 장주기 줘봐 랑대다 장주기 세면 장주기 줘봐 중 럽종제 아니 디 동바도 랑 원텔에 제와이나 랑대서 디 마당와나 다게 장주 지모도다 가짜는 거 토고 미토다 예바 토비소 셔바워자 And as it says here, as it's explained above, saying that if the flies and mosquitoes, bees, and insects, if they generate the power of enthusiastic effort and then accumulate the collections, and then they will be able to attain the peerless enlightenment, that which is so difficult to attain. And of course, we're pointing to the fact that they have, like we all have, that Buddha potential, that seed of enlightenment within. And so it's the question of gaining gradually and more and more and more fortunate rebirth each time, and so that they can awaken that potential and then increase that potential as they go on, and just getting themselves into the right conditions to gradually attain that. But it's pointing out that that possibility is always there because they have a Buddha potential. And that here, and then it's kind of contrasting that with the fact that we have attained an extraordinary potential by attaining a human rebirth. And most specifically, because we have the capacity to be able to practice to distinguish between what is good and what is bad, and that we are able to make good decisions about what our practice should be, and therefore that we can enter into the practices of of enlightenment, and to attain that state of enlightenment, and asking the question, why can't we? Why wouldn't we be able to attain that state of enlightenment once we learn what we need to learn and be able to integrate it into our lives?
가서도 산역을 속에 리세이베 최대한질 인데 스콜라 직 대바디 아니 땡기 동그 옹게 땡기 동그 옹게 타바차도 격자 두세지 다들 꿀론다 가 요마데나 산제 그리기 요바 인사티 지기 요바 산제 그리기 요바 다들 꿀론다 디게 제바til에 두바차 요바 두바차 요바.
And so that's a story from the Graduated Path teachings, which refers to the previous, much earlier previous rebirth of a being who was born as a fly, who was sitting or standing on a cow dung, which was floating around a stupa, and because of the root virtue that had been gained by that fly, due to the power of the object, that allowed them to be able to then generate a more positive rebirth in the future, and so on, to be where they were in that rebirth. And so it's kind of like seeing that there are possibilities even for those born as a fly.
땡그 또그 네버다 이나 가사데 부디 길라 산제 그리 요바자 용구 열바 산제 그리나 용구 바르바.
And so it's saying we talk about the power of the basis, the power of the object in this particular case, but this is only valid when it can have that influence on the fly, and that's because the fly also had the Buddha potential within.
용구요라. 근데 자자바이나 로베 이니 아니 권다 차제 아니 도송 슈드 도 메모라이즈 체네 도스네 아니 도는 슈가다 도는 슈가다 로베 이니 소사티들 지우치 것도 있는 데디고스 지우치 안디 로베 이니 그 도수적한 거디고 있어봐 디 바자 제네 아니 로베 이제 자가 위를 쉬고 열다든 디깔다 총바된데 카슈미르 로베 로드 템바다 템바데 아니 카슈미르 총바로 아니 카슈미르 아니 로드 다데 부가 로드 로베 로드 템바 부가라 아 녜기게 위를 유 기게게 첼라 아니 로베 이니스기요스 로이 에네 총바된데 로베 이니를 쉬는 계란이 기도 인식이 이제 부구 충족도 인 카슈미르 계란 기도 인식이 도스 안가는 기도 된데 저는 매스 그 기도 인식 안 젤스도 안 젤마 페 젤날레다 롭존나 첸 케바치 버차 로비 로드 템바선차 디 이제 게 바자데 가서 지우질에 개발레면 갈라 때 바자샤를 되고 루주 숨고도 와 되는 연주에 살와 연주에 살아요.
Another one of these instances is connected to the story of Master Vasubandhu, who, when reciting the sutras, memorizing the sutras, the tradition is to speak them aloud. There was a bird at his windowsill listening and hearing what was going on. And at some later point, this bird passed away and was reborn as a boy child in Kashmir area. And the child, on being able to explain themselves, claimed that they were a student of a master in the central part of India. And that when asked who that was, he claimed it was a Master Vasubandhu. And so when this story was retold to Master Vasubandhu, he could not recall of any student of his who had come from the area of Kashmir. But this boy eventually traveled to the central part of India, became a student at Nalanda, and achieved great things. And so this then became more clear as they had a closer connection as to how this had come about. And again, pointing to it's the Buddha potential within all living beings.
어디 저거도 다 되네 말해서 다 소송은 굴론제 삼로당 아니 지금 산제 공부에培育되게 돈 자주스가培育되게 돈 유튜브에 셰럽게培育되게 돈이 나다 딜레도 같이 그러고 다 셰버와.
And so there's no need to emphasize then how important it is and how amazing it is that we can generate an actual motivation whereby we really appreciate the Buddha's teachings and can have an appreciation of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness and so on. That's laying down much more powerful imprints.
다가 이제 나라도 다다 밀레게 버와 밀레게와데 아니 주메게멜게 버라 밀레게데 랑게 추tum수메 게버래 디나네 아니 속쇼봉에 추tum수메 게버래 아니 되네 그거서데 지소 파지로 좋아져 물론 디바메 참저 근데 이바이자 대쪽 류대지 용한테 다른 것도 뒤로 막 밀레게 되거든 카레 디야 교치 좀리 연구도 와 디 갈전 조도 사제 리기여서 좀 돌아 사제 리기면 뒤좀 두고 말와.
So, we have not only that, we have actually made it to a rebirth as a human being, as something that does not happen accidentally, but has to be based on an intricate and complex series of causes based on a perfect ethical conduct, such as avoiding killing and so on, of practicing the perfections such as generosity and so on, and making stainless aspirational prayers directed at a human rebirth. And so we have to also take into account that this all becomes possible because we have, again, Buddha potential, and that to have that appreciation, newborn appreciation for that, and to make the very most of it.
리투베 tubo inde 요디도 다들 산제기 주디게 가리바데 소 라와이나 애니 디도 산제디 용초로 와 용초
And so we can see how the cause and effect of all this operates, that the result is in harmony with the causes that have been created that led to it. And therefore, we can extend that to understand that we can now, in our situation, create the causes for enlightenment, and that there is no reason to suppose that we will not attain the state of enlightenment if we create the appropriate causes.
다 장주 토토에 여바이나 아니 디토라 베주 마제네 콜라타나 다 빼방보로 와
Likewise, that if that is possible for us, then what a disaster it would be if we did not put in the effort, but succumbed to laziness.
다 니바 장주 주베 가제라 년주 동에게 찾아면 매바 수리 벌어 숨자.
And so the second of those subheadings was it's right that we can bear the hardship of attaining of the practices for enlightenment because they completely eradicate the suffering of the lower realms.
숨전 다데 강라 소 동에 가제기에서 지금 미리바 아니 년주 동에게 찾아요 놈이고 봐. 내 전부 쇼베체도 동에 중요 수리고 And
this has three subheadings of its own. And the first one is that fear is inappropriate for in relation to the austerities whereby we might have to give our arms and our legs, etc. And secondly, seeing how it will be unnecessary to experience even a moment of the suffering of the lower realms. And thirdly, that it is it is right to be able to put up with a little suffering in order to overcome a great illness or great disease.
Or just but ne chubo chobe chen tunga chungo sorgo pe wo che pe ti ta de ne da dang bu de la ka sha dang bu de la kan la so dong ge ka je ge jing mi ri ba sa jing mi ri ba za wa le ge de kan la so ba dong ge da ni jing shen na ji da yang wa ma che bo mo ba da ni jing ba se ge ba je wa zhang me do len zhang do ma che ba da u da se da sha ju ji zhang ju to ba
So with regard to the first of those subheadings, verses number 20 and 21. But nevertheless, it frightens me to think that I may have to give away my arms and legs. Without discriminating between what is heavy and what is light, I am reduced to fear through confusion. For over countless myriads of eons, I have been cut, stabbed, burned, and flayed alive innumerable times, but I have not awakened.
다 의원대에서 조장 토발라네 아니 저 조장 토발라다 간라다 고라소바 아니 지바야 그래서 지바야 땅괴에서 달라다게 지바 주로시라 달라네 동행게에서 동행 지와다 야외 개발 마체버라 랑도로 몸에 온기 다게 지바 세제서 다 랑도로 몸에 온게 개발 로드 뭐 개발 제와 장매도 다 냐와를 다 that lenji mai ba chang me ba wa de cha ro because of the lenji member ke ne lenda du ma sa ta lu che ba sha ba ane se ba ta ro ta ane chun de sha be du nge nyo wa ju je sa ro ta de da wa de ta ga ji ju ju la ke wa yin ta de mo bu nyo yo ba jo yin ge de ta na la na me be cha ju to ba mi yo de de che wa de 장주 유了chi yo sa za le chi yo ma ba ke ge chi to yo ma ro de ta na ya 되게 중요하다. 자주 토바 미주로 시 토베 줄 마주도 시바고자.
And so here an objection comes in. We're saying that, in order to attain a state of full enlightenment, I may have to give over my arms, my legs, my head, and so on. And that this is something very fearful, very difficult. And the answer is that, that this is the problem of being unable to distinguish between what is heavy and what is light suffering. And so it's kind of really taking into account that, you shouldn't have any fear with regard to this, because in previous eons, countless times, we have been reborn in the hell realms, and in when we have been in those situations, then countless times we have had our bodies slashed and gashed and smothered, and we have been flayed and burned alive. We have been pierced by weapons, etc., and have had to experience all of that unbearable suffering. And in that time, during all of that time, we have not attained a state of peerless enlightenment.
장주 줄을 개치야 맞어. 로다 pen 차잖아. 냐와 냐외 나네 양수 소라 잡아. 냐와는 동에 양아지 메게자. 양주지 메게자. 양수를 차잡아. 니마르의 시도 숨겨 지고요 봐. 제바다 두바다 샤바다 ချက်. 양랑가는 다도는 양수 레고 오게 매워 자고요 말이 양수요 거. 양 동에요. 보다 빠도 매워 용거요. 이 장주 줄을 쳐도 조금은 더다 장주 줄을 조금제 따교 중나다 다 단지 주나 대체 뭐 좀 두고 와. 얘네 땅에 대해 다다 모두 내땅바간에 페바 땅마다 땅고에 말해. 그 뒤주시 내려면도 문에 땅에 그 뒤주시 내려면도 그 이제 미지 땅고요 말. 되게 돼그 조사는 심어 걸어 와. 좋아. 문에 땅에 땅고 봐체. 아니 스라에게 땅에 그 뒤를 내 봐. 거기 리바지 레소나 아니 거기 땅에 준 거. 뭐들 내 땅보거네. 아니 저거 사바장 아니 남시나 아니 소소게 지가서다 땅나 랑이 냠내는 만녀 가지 차에 주나 오거다 거 채질래서나 아니 시내고 채질래서나 아니 시내고 지금 땅바이네 아니 소소래 만녀 아니 셀레 팬토에 요구요 봐 요구요 거 채저르면도 땅분에 류제 또怎么 땅바에 내서 그게 말해 이래 편바탕 그러 편바탕 오다 땅에서 그这个 탑 켜보고 저다도 뇌 자원이네 매직을 탑 켜보 저다 주요 봐我就 이네디 땅와 될라 때는 편바 빠도 매번 주고 요라 그러 다다보도我就 로 가서데 어제다 자 개와 레제 가 타마 신이 요로 다다보도 신이 류땅이 요로 봐 근데 가야 죽도 요 말봐 아니 이제 새도 게 맞아 있네 집에 개와 타마 치줘 버려 치들 류땅으로 왔다 근데 가야 죽도면다 근데 집에 동네 녀는 요로 봐 그러 녀는 요로 봐 녀는 요로 봐 다다다 저기 자주 그 심지 답에 사제 공부 답에 또 교라 저에게 지금 따교를 안 하다 답에 그거 전부 좀 설치를 와 이내 뒤에 땅에 잠시 열면도 로아다 잠시 열면도 뭐 지금 가서는 관계 땅 거에 좀 많이 와 권리 땅사 그 잠시 열 뒤도 랑게 来만료에 등주 열에 어떻게 야
And so, on the one hand, these verses are referring to the fact that we have been born in the hell realms, countless times. And say, even the example of the reviving hell, even one of the lesser hells, and there how, when we are reborn there, we are again slashed and cut and burned and decapitated, etc., etc. And then, we fall into this stupor and fall down, and then just the wind comes and revives us again, and then the whole thing begins again and again and again, and one must go through this countless times whilst in that hell, and that this
你们进来呀一节 300 times 你们进来呀
300 times this occurs in one day in the hell realms, and so this process, and so again and again and again we have to suffer all of these dismemberments, etc. And that on the other hand, of course, we are encouraged to be able to give whatever we can, to donate whatever we can, but only through skillful means when the time is right. So when you have the capacity to be able to do so, so that on the one hand your own practice is in no way compromised, and there is a definite powerful benefit to the other through your donating like this. And so it's important to understand this part of the practice as well. Similarly, it's important to understand that we are in the process of constantly donating our bodies anyway, and that this occurs at death, of course. When we are born, we already have kind of, as it were, guaranteed that we will give over our body at the time of death. So that's a donation of our body, and that again, usually to no benefit ourselves. And so that's why it's so important for us to, or at least in all processes of life, especially at death, to have that motivation of the mind of enlightenment combined with the wisdom realizing emptiness to the fore, so that we can make the most of those moments.
他的那有啥，或者我他讲究个做完了都什么，刚拉拉说的这个当见都得了，见那个当都什么，我的那个机关结果要嘛的时候，我的那个机关结果要嘛的时候，因为他老高面了，说别人讲的老高面了，告诉的他别人想想呢，这个说的。 现在大家全部这个，这个尊重个娘们结婚搞了，别甚至这个段落呀，没那结婚家说那个呢呀，那个人什么个，在那个人多方面，是吧？在那个人多方面，如果他甚至进了，把这个呢，两位个，他个说拿落了，结婚把他们呢，那他妈这个意思，在那个他人多方面，人多方面的。 거모도 아니 근데 닝도 고말 되는데 냐와를 끼고 열면서 끼고 요말에 티 냐와라 게 주마레 냐와라 게 주데 셈제실라 페바투에 그래서 뭐 건다 셈제 다다데 셈제실라 페바투에 셈제실라 도 너바제 셈제 란젠제 꾸나라 샬라 너바제 란라 디지 주에 데데게 체도 아니 가서 차당거 로이 때네 아니 레사온데 냐월 주고 여러면도 셈제 지게도 맨날 깨버져서 내버려 내기 삼사 체온도 냐와라 게 주천 차고 말이야 이내 소소 셈제는 바 내고나 자자자도 바 내도 바 지기서 로 검네 좋아한데 냐와나 타에 교차거든 냐와게 교천 작으면 와 로아 아니 르 롱제도 편반 매봐 바 땅좀 떼온데 로아 더 버저 어디를 저 롱고네 베베 태소 매봐 어디를 저 고모도 아니 그 저거 가서도 남래가 누바다 숙체도 체도 저거로 하죠 란체도 숙총도 총도 다 갑자기 자서데 란체들 갑자기 자 현재도 공배 좀 공부 타지 마 요아체도 지금 열봐 그 소로도 가서다 지금 가서래 지금 테크놀로지 소저리도 아직 그 누가 쳐보지도 삼로게 테크놀로지 쳐보지도 다에다 다랑려 다를 샤라 페바 중에서 냐와도 개발에 되는 내기 스팔려 당어도 냐와를 개 저는 배 가서들 배 고강 가셔도
And so, therefore, that having fear over having to donate these parts of the body, etc., is unnecessary and not needed. Because really, it's about gaining the habituation of mind. That when we have that habituation of mind, say, exemplified by those great beings, when they make the motivation for the sake of even one sentient being willing to stay for eon, from eon to eon in the hell realms, for their sake, to develop that sense of courage of mind. And if we ask the question, then do they actually then, are they reborn in the hell realms? No. Why? Because that has nothing got to do with the causes that would lead to a hell realm rebirth. That those causes are centered on self-cherishing attitudes of really denying the happiness of others, of really, actions based on attachment and aversion, etc. So here the causes are not commensurate with the rebirth in a hell realm, and but this is really a genuine, sincere pledge that if it would be beneficial just for one sentient being, I am willing to abide in the hell realms for eons, is a very powerful and courageous mindset, and that what is doing is to be able to enhance one's practice and one's capacity to give, and reducing drastically one's self-cherishing attitude. It's kind of powerful technology, powerful psychology to be able to take on far more than we ever would have been able to imagine previously.
ngenju dunga 찾아야 놈이 거 봐네 자왈이야 다지 장주 주반에 dunga 데라 추여대 그래서 dunga 데라 추여대 송어 콜라 녀세칠 류마 그래서 류마 되베 dunga 신세.
And so the third of the subheadings then, the second of those headings saying it being unnecessary to experience even a tiny part of the suffering of the lower realms is discussed in verse number 22, where it says, "Yet the suffering involved in my awakening will have a limit. It is like the suffering of having an incision made in order to remove and destroy greater pain."
다제 라메 장주 주베 가제 되는 라메 장주 주베 동에데 년주고 동에를 떠와 있는데 다 배지가 가서 뒤주가 타라 윤통도 아니 신도 중앙 저기서 수행료가 차대어서 수행료가 전에 빼나 송어 코발라베다 저 코벤나로 수세 쳐보들 있잖아 된데가 세베치 제 대중의 대매가 제가 제도 저도 얼르라 마되베 동에다 그 가서데 마되는 다그저 뒤 동에 시와 지에서 지금 지금 매바 탑케가 들을 지금 와도 수행료가 싫어 다디 뒤 매바 차디 수행료가 중국으로 와 수행료가 싫어 셔봐 왔잖아 라벨에 차로 앞에는 나사 가셔 연구도 와. 야 잡치는 아니 강바체 관점도 연구도 와. 디마저로 수보가 돌아서 조금 시도해 드려 연구도 와. 다 뒤쳐도 강바체 샤베 저다. 야 라바체 관점도 연구도 왔다. 연구도 와. 근데 그 듣고 그 가서라서 뒤 지금 탑시들의 연구도 하고 다 뒤소르체 다 뒤소르체 뒤소르체 왔다 어디 숨고요. 어디
And so it's here is talking to about the kind of hardships, the suffering involved in the hardships of attaining the state of peerless enlightenment. Is that you know, you will not have to experience any of the suffering of the lower realms, and that compared to those sufferings, the sufferings of the hardships associated with enlightenment are very brief and mild and short-lived. And so here, this is saying that you know, we should be able to easily bear this kind of suffering. And so it's kind of then using the example of you know, being able to see off a greater disease or illness through having a lesser kind of medical procedure done, such as, you know, having an injection to avoid getting more sick. And so the logic of it is seen very clearly. And so it can extend to, you know, giving away, donating a hand, for example, to avoid much greater suffering in the lower realms and so on.
가즈나데 지 가소래 pene sugar nazar dawadene ina nazar je ya jala le kyo je ya se to de an ko che kwa de yong do ti ma no su bu cha za le chap do ne an ko jo bo shi do lo wa de yu ri de to ye da su bu do de da yo che do de da ga je这个这个全部这个切多而且chung chung略当过的用不多全部这个切多chung chung略当过的嘞是吧略当过的用不多我倒感觉这个我的那个的说了这说他你说我东南亚嘛个切多俺第切多切大人呀就干了多少家别是吧干了多少家别呢这个你要说这东南这个小八节的可是连年把这个小八节的这个但伢们呢대 냠랭게 칼레디 가도 대 냠랭 제 칼레디 니아손 게츠도 개가 말했어 보여라 다도 다디 또 다디 아니 하도도 문에 전에게 제가 소대 렌데다 깨왕한 제다 아니 최래 이지 아니 유다 제비 남자들 야고 심바이나 아니 데데게 강에 대 쪼아게서 책을 와오 데데지 냠랭 제발을 때네 아니 동에 주 텔레스 빵 두고도 대화 텔레스 두고도 서 아니 케베 야보지 여바 심바 이나다 거들 좋아하게 해서 책을 와 거들
And so yes, so it's really this case. Like for example, somebody who's diabetic will go through their regime of you know, daily or twice daily injections in order to see off any greater deterioration of their condition, and so easily it becomes part and parcel of life, and that here it's the generally speaking it's the acceptance of something you know, lesser in kind of lesser pain in order to see off a greater pain, and that here in the context of, you know, lower realms, it's saying here that the effort associated with the practice and maybe the hardship of practice is to be viewed in comparison with the unbearable suffering that one will have to go through in the lower realms if one you know, doesn't do this, engages in this practice. So it's kind of saying to that, you know, to practice this alongside the faith that we have in the law of cause and effect in past and future lives, in the Dharma itself, to rejoice in this and to kind of go, these are, positive um, uh, causes that we can accumulate, and that we know the causes of suffering that we have to avoid and abandon, and we know the causes of happiness that we need to assiduously practice as well. And that is something, really worth delighting in. This is something that will feed our enthusiastic effort.
다 수마 내 처부 쇼메 쳐도 동해 중국 소리고 빼내서 자와래 멤버 군자 소제제 그래서 미디어와의 내매체 대외 동해 멍보다 쇼지 미디어 중소의 자체
The third subheading was it is right to bear a small suffering for the sake of overcoming a great illness. 23, verse number 23 says, even doctors eliminate illness with unpleasant medical treatments. So in order to overcome manifold sufferings, I should be able to put up with some discomfort.
멤버라 파자는 수고도다 멤버 군자다 멤버 되게 멤버 건강하다 같이 내수에 탐시 저도 소재를 안도 루더 셈미대와 이에서 내 멤버 제바 이면서 내 멤버 제바 준비 지금 가솔래요 로다변의 샤주에 당고에 다 가자 되게 강에 유제 되게 강에 매버서에 저도 다 지금 되게 답시 때문에 다 가자 지기로 왔다 미대의 내 매버 제바 임베서 제바 이봤다 디나시 대회는 코아치다 제라겠다 지다 제라 그냥 속을 동에 먹고 다 먹보다 쇼메치 대좀메치도 아니 자주 주베 가자 다 대다 아니 거기 좋았다 때도 되게 주에 랑자마야 타이베마게 심제 탐제를 펴봐 주두야 다 랑다 나시게 동에 나와 강가를 편도 주두야 저배 자주 주베 가지게 미대와데 충무야 써버지 그거 충무야 써봐 잡고 써서 왔다 때때 미대와 충무 대양 안 써봐 잡고 써서 왔다 로다 무드는 게 손다데 발에 내대야다 무드는 코알 내대와 때데 군에 동에라 와 다 디면 바전에 다 딜레 타네 란투고 말 타이베 막에 심제 탐제 동에 대달 탐제 데 가제게 미대와 중고 대다 다 쇠마도 다 지고 대다 쇠 투어 지고 그랬어 또 봐 자고 셔봐 오자 그래서
And so
되게
here,
뭐
so in this verse again, using the example of medicine, and so here are saying that when doctors prescribe practices or medicines and so on, and prescribe and medicines and treatments, that they are often uncomfortable in body and mind, but they're prescribed in order for us to overcome our illness, and we have that understanding. We should also then have that understanding with relation to really overcoming the suffering inherent in the particular and general sufferings of cyclic existence, and to easily bear the small discomfort of the hardships related to attaining enlightenment, because it's a much greater goal. And so we understand this, that we are willing to undergo medical procedures such as operations and all that in order to overcome great illnesses and disease. And so here too we have that amazing motivation to benefit all sentient beings and to eradicate the suffering of ourselves and all sentient beings in that mind of enlightenment motivation. And that in order to pull that off, then surely we can accept some small discomfort related to those practices.
그래. 다 강에 예배 뒤에 다른 것도 내 당보하래. 내 당보하대 단다데 가서 년중에 또 개마도 장중에 생게 또 개마도 아니 가서 돈이도 셔라게 누가 마당 왔지 다 가자 저 가서래 가서래다 부구 충중 다 이제 저 야랑에 탑지자 랑마도 말이도 말을 다 되는 갑지로 다 되도 갈래 가지 되다 되네 년중에 sem chuma mai ba ke ani janju ge sem chuma mai ba toni to be sherab je ram ju la de so na ani ko o ta kyo che chi gu ma re ta choro le le de so na de gu ma re chue che to gu ta ko sha gu ma re ta da ngo to ga so na nian zhong ge zhuo de da da me janju ge sem zhuo de de ne ge ne yu ani toni to be sherab de ge ne yu ta timbi to da re timbi shin de me do mang cha de da 코에 디게레 현자 주청보여 가서 년중 다다던 거 요마레 당진 요레 주청보 요레 그래서 나라도 미다바 또 요마레 당진 주청보 요레 어다 되게 내다 망고질라 때는 다다 모두 이메도 또서 다 최대도 지구도 와서 지구 할때 이네 부구 충충 야 랑마도 거지도 야 랑에 탑시 제 말이 도 다 디라르다 다다 다고 차자 야 랑투가 차서 마 대스네 대로 지금 야 랑도 주고래 다가서 돈이 년조도 딱딱 채롱아 채 장주가 셈 채롱아 채 돈이 또 왜셔라 채롱아 채서는 다 말해 다 저러 또 흘려 대다 서는 안에 대고 말해 다보다 탐제 채버 랑주고 줘 되거와 다다 뭐도 너무 쳐서 좋아하는 신체는 안에 다보다 탐제 채 랑주고 줘 되거 삼로 땅 먹어 줘 되거 가서 또 개차로 다다 뭐도 또 맞아야 봐야 돼 깔래 가지고 잡더래 깔래 가지고 다보다 탐제 채버 람게 온게 말에 나라도 공바 매배 온게로 와 공바데 녀모로 공바 숙차 요바체 이 온게래 진짜 단단 것도 깔래 카수르다 디가서 다보다 탐제게 람 깔래 카보 임베 온게 말에 나라도 공바 매배 온게로 와 어디 차대원에서 이 겐게래
And so, on the one hand, we have to recognize where we are at on the path, and we are really like rank beginners on the path. We still haven't generated a genuine sense of renunciation, genuine mind of enlightenment, or a genuine wisdom of emptiness. And so it's kind of like we are really crawling on all fours, and we have yet to arise on our feet to be able to walk possibly. And so it's kind of like really that, we haven't got that taste of renunciation or mind of enlightenment or wisdom realizing emptiness. And so everything is a struggle. Everything is more difficult because of that. And we have time like really limited in our aspiration, limited in our hopes. And so it's kind of like really seeing that, we're still also then, because of that, still chasing the happiness in cyclic existence. We're still grasping at permanence. And we're kind of like in a very much way compromised. We're shackled in a way. We're still not on our feet like a small child, still crawling around on the floor. And it's not the time for us to think, oh, I should take it easy. I should relax at this point, This is the point where we should really try to get up on our feet and that to really do the best we can. And so to know that there will be a point where we will have the concept of renunciation in every moment of our thinking, without having to bring it to mind, without having to, it will be automatic. And similarly, our concern for sentient beings, automatic in our wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Our understanding of wisdom, of emptiness, will be there with us constantly. And how does that come about? It comes about through the power of habituation. And this is what's lacking for us, that we need, we don't have that sense of habituation at the moment. Our practice is hit and miss, and we're very much kind of like really amateurs in a way. And so we have to be able to habituate to these ways of thinking, this way of approaching life, this way of conceptualizing life, and so that they arise second nature to us.
단다 가서 내 당보 유자디 강에 되고요. 뭐서 내 당보 멤버 전에 지금 가서도 연중다 장선다 양답에 따와기 마사 된서 소설 여봐이나 강에 여 말이야. 강에 아니 다저나 니마 지금 데 가서도 데 삼로 마다 디돌 만도스라베다 그 랑슈고 줘되고 랑슈고 줘되게 랑슈고 거 가서나 디 가서래 지금 좋아다 차상 용차와 용차도 랑주고 좋대거든. 보다 다들 가서 그 깔래하고 된 거랑도 건배 온게 딜라 건바 매바죠. 건바지 아니 저거 그 녀몽에 쳐려 여바 인자 아니 디온게 깔래하고 자 깔래하고 녀몽에 쳐려 건바 유배 온게 깔래하고 차버리면 또 셔바 가야 말이야. 셔바 가야 말이야. 다 디인자 그 림베게 배주 직제 니제 숨제 림베게 아니 그 라라라라라라라라라 저거와 어떤 거라 저거 뭐서 좀 된대 임바 인자 가서도 초상 거서 야마저와 지고서 내가 뒤차로와 그러와 퇴중 거 싫어 아니 삼중 거 싫어 삼중 거 싫어부터는 뭐 삼로단 좀제 통하잖아 좀제 통하져서 그 이왕 쳐도로와 그러와 다들 가서는 이왕 쳐도로와 아니 때는 검주기 싫어 이게 두 번째 그러와 그런 거서 모던 에듀케이션 서로 전부이나 그 퇴중 거 통해 그 싫어게 그 삼중 거 싫어다 검중 거 싫어다 계속 가야 되게 요 말와 다들 모두 낭도 리그에 돌아 오다 그 최종 거 싫어 삼중 거 싫어 검중 거 싫어 그 들리지 만져라 그 뭐이게 내도 렌투고 매버 인사 어느 데 좀바들 중화와 좀바들 저거 듣고 내가 좀 찾아와 들리 임바 인도 거지 레다 들리샤 들리 임바
And so, yes, we are really at the beginner stage, and that, this means that we are very much, kind of like on the back foot, as it were, with regard to our understanding and application of renunciation, the mind of enlightenment, and the wisdom realizing emptiness. So that if we have, more familiarity with these ways of thinking and these ways of living, and then, in fact, it eradicates so many problems that we encounter on a daily basis now. And that here, it's kind of like we want to reach that point where these mindsets arise naturally, automatically for us, and that to kind of really and be able to appreciate them fully is very, very important. And that. And the difficulty, we have these twin difficulties, and these difficulties are related, that they are the combination of a lack of habituation on the one hand, which is allowing for the dominance of mental affliction. And so this is what's causing so much difficulty for us in being able to overcome, our own mental attitudes. And so it's kind of like really everything becomes easier with effort. It's important to understand that if we really do make the effort, and this is kind of the key point here is the application of the wisdom arising from learning, the wisdom arising from contemplation, and the wisdom arising from meditation, and to practice them in unison. And this is so important that kind of brings in the whole reasoning side of things, where we are able to ascertain the essential point, the kind of take the essence out of every situation based on the reasoning. And if we look at a modern education, we can see that they somehow address, in some way, address the wisdom arising from learning, but there is no sign of the wisdom arising from contemplation and the wisdom arising from meditation. Whereas within the Buddhist education, they have all those three aspects gaining equal attention, as all seeing as very, very important, as being able to really induce the essence from every situation.
Geshe 가서 그 규도다고 임바인사 규도다고 임바인사 뭐 아니 규도고도 아니 거기 셰럽스인데 저번에도 조고고도 와 어디로 왔는가 대처로
And so the
규도에
oh
샘규도
yeah, so yes, and this is the essential point of training ourselves to subdue the mind, to really have control over the mind, and that's what the wisdom is about.
어디로 그래 다음에 받은 것도 세버려 말도 지금 떼레시 땅서나 아니 지금 기본이지도 야구 요래 냠네 야구 시그래 미상부 요래 미 야구 그래서 미 야구 요뭐 저런 미 야구 매봐 저런 독자 요봐 견지제다 람장 먹기봐 저기도 미제 거 람장 줄 초조 녀몽 깨 초조지도 때것도 탐에 임바 다된 거 여러 탐에 따로 그래서 가서는 것도 가서 직대 최계에게 시장한테 숙소부 저대와 인사 때렸다나 가한 것도 매래 밤나 람장 알리 갑도 레말로 안에 동교와 태운 것도 가서 갔다 좀 것도 탐에 와 임바 다된 거 여러 그와 탐에 와 람장 너무 깨 주저도 또 때렸다나 가 매래 밤나 마가와 what 지 용되기도 용되기도 어디 가서는 그 탐에 임바 다된 거 나들 가서 직대 취재도 숙소부 이해되는데 어들 근데 그 시대 지거나 냠내 비다고 용서도 가보시라와 가보시라래 가보시라래도 어다들 임바자 어떻게 그 초망본에 삼로 당전에 아니 거지게 숙중도 당전에 아니 거지 냠내를 보고 어디 개치버려도 어들
And so, it's often that we gain an insight into where we're at when we're praised, for example, and we feel this kind of swelling up of the ego because, oh yeah, I really am as good as they say I am. And then conversely, when one is criticized, and people say, no, you're not that good, and then you get offended, the mental afflictions arise like this so easily, so readily. This is a sign of being an ordinary being. This is a sign of being where the eight worldly concerns are deeply embedded in your thinking, and that it's very hard to practice well when in that sort of reality. And so we need to be able to see beyond that.
가초조 두초조 연구도 가초조 두초조 연구도
Of, a fickle where, you're kind of like happy 1 second, miserable the next, unstable.
어디를 대샤쇼
So we leave it there for today.
단데 야ਜੋ 둥기 나가라 세데베 라마토가 모디 안조 공부시 조시자
So bring our minds again to the figure of the Guru Buddha, Guru Manindra, in our merit field.
아니 되네 디가소데 제 감성 좋아해도 가봐 개와 이마이네 아니 답가서 동네 뒤는 잡아 두제 동네를 맞아 버리셔 잡아 두제 그 동네 마방 봐도 아니 동네 셔번이 돼 용되거라 디 셔번대 제대 텔레 임바자 감성 고할 가봐 개와 있네 아니 동네를 맞아 버리셔 예와 줘 연중 공부시 근데 연중 예배 로데 라이 지월이 이게 밤지 줘서 밤 요소 줘발에 빼마 담아져 가지고 줘서 삼자체 아니 아니 지나가 쳤근데 임바이나 야 위대는 좋아서는데 맞다 뒤자요 말서 kho다 쳐봐 공부시 안데는 데레 가자 데데 가스 디간들 셈지 샤 많이 받다 갈 셈지 샤 안디 요소 줘발래 아니 이게 홍지 줘서 홍 요소 줘발래 아니 니 매지 뭐 약가와지 아니 단다데 빼마 담아지면 가 때도 내서 삼자체 다 유대는 맞아 와서 그때는 좋아했는데 이 맞아 다 사제 고바 주네 와다 죽투예지 주나 용해지르샤 디 유대들 똑같을 라면 용도도 삼도 어들 예번에는 다 사제 고바 주에는 맞아 죽부터 유언이도 죽투가 저기 고바시 고바시는 아니 된대 예배 두바데 아니 이게 아치라죠. 아요소 주발에 아니 다외지 뭐냐 가와지 아니 미팅 거 있다는 데서 아니 반대자가 라마를 다게 주면 그래 구수도 좀 물어서 수대 제가 담배 가서 패 라마 두배 한거 패 니가 가서 쇼 수면 때도 쇼나 아니 라게 지워 담아 집에 때도 쇼소서 아니 야라도 와 메레트 잡아 피고 왔죠.
And so, bringing our attention to focus on the figure of the Guru Munindra in the space in front, we start reflecting on the renunciation and how, wherever we are born in any of the realms of cyclic existence, we do not get beyond suffering. We have the suffering of suffering, or the suffering of change, but in particular, pervasive suffering. And we know that without attaining liberation, we can't get beyond that pervasive suffering. And reflecting on that produces the syllable BAM, which at our heart, at our head, on our crown, transforms into the lotus mandala seed. And then reflecting on how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, this sense of an I, a self, and searching into that, not finding it in the body and mind, and really arriving at the mere negation of that object of negation, and focusing just on that, then this produces the syllable home, and that then transforms into the sun mandala seat on our crown. And this then, resulting from that logic, we realize that phenomena arise in dependence, and that opens the door to the causes that can be laid down to attain the state of enlightenment as quickly as possible, and thereby focusing on the mind of enlightenment, which is symbolized by the seed syllable A, which transforms into the moon disk mandala seed, and that completes the seating arrangement on our crown. And then we utter the invocation verse for the Guru Munindra to come and sit there thrice. So, glorious and precious root Guru, come take a lotus and moon seed placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the merit field in the space in front. At the end of the second, they have arrived at my pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have that beautiful, serene certainty that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice at this point and make the offerings of the 7 limbs of practice and the mandala offering.
어디를 고바시 어디를 자 근데 야죠 다기네 시제 연주 연주 고바시 세조 잡니다 같이 로다 감송 도와주도 가봐게 버렸다 문에 전에 디기시다 문도 다 근데 이마이자 뭐 디기 좋아하는 거 상제 디기를 샤 되고 주어체 정도 로아 주에 동네 차대도 오다 어디를 근데 이마이자 오다 이 딜레타를 배치 맞죠 좀 무슨 좀 연주 고바시 되는 연주 예벌로데 랑이 니디 이게 빰질을 줘서 삼사체 빰 요소 줘발래 아니 배마타마치 바치를 줘서 삼사체 배마타마치 바치 삼사체 근데 그다가제 심제 탐제도 산제 고마 두기 있어 나한테 제주 심제제도 뉴제제도 아딜레 심바제제도 봐 제주도 딱 봐. 제 루기다는 제주보다는 벌써도 두천사회 니에도 semgedene ba sechodo semgejin ngajira ba zedo ko niye koramendo wa ta ta yene yora ko nyoye chukte gar ngat nyoye chukte ge yore onda nigi yoma ta mani ta do gota rawan de chumdo sa do gota dilate niye ba niye to gota yuda to duza mundo sa do khota cho ko ko sho tene niye be lote 얘기 혼지 주로 혼요소 주발에 니베지 뭐냐 가와지 따마따마지 때도 내서 섬다지 때는 왔다 되게 주발에 시작다 라완도 마도 와도 그때는 동안도 여바면도 다들 이제 산제 고마서 좀 여바지는 셔서甚至 탐제 산제 고마도 좀 대한 유아지도 좀 두가지 고마셔 아니 되게 좀 받이 이게 아주 아요소 주가 다외지 뭐 요소 약가와지 아니 님의 김고 때는 요소 반대서 라모는 뭐 저다겠지 니가 배배에 걸을 고소도 뭐 고소고도 다도 손대 저왔잖아 아니 손대 담배 가서 집어를 막저 니가 가서 쇼 소배들 사제 고마마도 그래서 소다 어디 마도 봐도 다 쇼스 내서 어디를 저 있으면서 언제를 빼마다만 저거들 가도라는 얘기 내가 제가 또 제가 못생각 채워져 가게 이 타고도 또 매성아 다도 물어서 또 매서 다도 물어서 무슨 거다 되네 엄마라 봐서 나디디디디디디 무슨 거다 되네 때내가 좀 어머 얘가 벌 뭐 쇼만에 있어 무슨 거다 뭐든 좀 거시
And so again, we reflect on renunciation, how in cyclic existence we have to undergo these levels of suffering, the suffering of suffering, the suffering of change, and the pervasive suffering. And similarly, when contemplating, this happiness that is available in cyclic existence is merely contaminated happiness. It always transforms into suffering. And we're really feeling that we need sense of definite emergence from this sort of unfulfilling reality. This renunciation is then symbolized by the symbol BAM at our heart center, which transforms into the lotus mandala seed. And then reflecting further on the lack of any inherent existence, whether in all inner and outer phenomena, how when we search for this sense of self, whether it's in the body through going through the different parts of the body and dividing it further and further and further, or through the mind and through the past and future moments of the mind, we do not find that sense of self. We know that there is a self, that we know from our own experience, that we can say, I am happy, I am sad, I am so on. But that is this sense of self that is self-powered or self-existent. And when we search for it, we do not find that. And that mere not finding of that inherently or objectively existent self is symbolized by the syllable hung, which at our heart center transforms into the sun mandala seed. And then there's understanding this, that the lack of any independent existence verifies that phenomena arise in dependence, and this is crucial for our being able to harmonize the cause and effect relationship, so we can aspire to attaining enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient being, and to be able to also aspire to doing that as quickly as possible. And seeing how that aspiration is symbolized by the syllable A, which transforms into the moon mandala seed at our heart center. And then we make the invocation verse again to invite the Guru Buddha from our crown down to this pre-prepared seat at our heart. Oh, glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed there at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the Guru Buddha moves down into through the crown chakra into the central channel. At the end of the second, has arrived at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have that certainty that the Buddha again will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment, and we rejoice at this point. And then the petals of the lotus fold over and are joined at their tips by a white five-pronged vajra, and that is surrounded by three mantras: the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, and the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination again in a clockwise direction.
La chamne al lugu dute rene pa chamne ma chawa me ba de wada de le de ne rang thoma me ba na sa me ta ti ba de ti ba ta ni je ce个 mi ge ju bu chu de ke wala so ba ta la je ba khana ma do ra she khana ma do ba ne ba kan je de ke yo ba che ti che nga ma ti nga ma la so ba thoma me ba na de le ke ba ne ba sa de ba an da ne shi ge ani ce个 so ta ba to ba ja ju se be 라바 상가게 따텔라 소바타 베세티아 생가마티 가마라 소바타 데네게 도바슈네는 and这个当时马上这里你把说肯定就啥有完的这个的话讲嘛，如果打的就，这个我等到。这个帕达马拉马古把它全部罗贝了马古，主要从把做工作做了略微来几吧，特别确保哇，跑ไป就对了国的哇，甚至了略微来几吧了是不？拖的他把它他们结束叫花的你说你们肯定是啥有吧的把加起打坐上去，主要的加起打那个这如果咱们来年把啥的，大概这南面给这部七八九的、牛啊九的大点了，说白，来肯定是啥有吧呢？我大概没把查说啥子，大概那些去这边旅店的，就告诉旅店的，他说不带他是个位置，就说是中心快慢牛吧，咱楼梯里给到不？生活动的，看有吧呢？希望中途啥子公巴些。我们先，我在那讲，他牛头三姐我们他们的捐钱去，他们个那些地方，他们个那些印度，他们个那些捐他们就当的，看那三姐大把人这把些吃多，他要不是中说，所以我在那公巴讲。
And so light rays begin to emanate from the body, speech, and mind of the Guru Buddha within the lotus petals, permeating through every cell of the body and mind, thereby affecting a purification of all negativities and obscurations since beginningless time, including all the 10 non-virtues, etc., of any negativities associated with killing and stealing, etc., negativities associated with all actions prescribed by the Buddha and the naturally occurring negativities, all the infractions and downfalls related to the pratimoksha, the bodhisattva, and the tantric vows, be it in this life, in the life previous to this, and the one previous to that, going back again to beginningless time, any disrespect that we have shown from our parents up to our gurus, and all the negativities associated with our body, which compromise our spiritual practice, the disease and the illness and so on, and the mind illness as well, compromising any spiritual practice. And all the causes that we have on our mind stream that might lead to the lower realms, etc., that they are completely purified and eradicated as well. So that all of the ripening effects, be they the ripening effect, the fully ripened effect, the environmental ripening effect, or the effect that's in line with the experiential cause and the habitual cause and so on, all these are completely and utterly purified. And all of the imbalances of our elements of the channels, winds and drops in our system are completely purified and realigned, rebalanced. That especially that the main cause that is kind of really preventing us from quickly attaining the state of enlightenment, being ordinary appearance, is now eradicated, is kind of swapped for a pure appearance. And then through the combination of my own more subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own more subtle mind or consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is now transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And I see myself now as being inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. I rejoice at this point, see this as really something amazing. I enjoy the bliss combined with voidness and abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And the place that I'm in also is transformed of all fault and debilitation and becomes the spatial, palatial abode of an enlightened being. And then seeing myself equal equal in body, speech, and mind to all Buddhas, and completely lacking in any inherent existence, I send out light rays from my heart center, equal in number to all of the realms and all the different realms of existence. And upon dissolving into them, they arise as fully enlightened beings, and they are completely enlightened. The place that they are in also is purified of all faults and becomes the palatial abodes of enlightened beings. Right.
야구 시우죠 심지어 탐자 사진가 살라고 그 인스타 니마 데는 거 도서다 야구 시우 좀서 쓰는 거고 다 심지어 탐자 사진가 살라고 봐 제치도 수도 개와 가지고 중국 소소도 잡아 한가 아니 이들 좀 뒤상 요마래서 확다 저거 공부시 디 대화체 대화 얘기 놓다가 게 동바체 때도 니스면 시 계속 쓰고 공부자.
And so I rejoice at this point in that I have actually fulfilled my goal of really leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment. How wonderful is that? I realize that that leading all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment and the virtue that facilitates that, and myself as the agent of that virtue, are completely empty of inherent existence and have no objective existence, even at the atomical level. This brings forth a sense of bliss which combines with voidness, and I abide again in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
三罗当的没把已经三罗木那当的等的来老师要把话，你那样，当的三罗当完了，人家我那个等的用完了，三节公王码头那他们多，让你三节公王码头他们多，他的人把印上，让你三节公码头完了，你家就个是个多年都没写了，人家人马现他们多，他的人把印上他结果的干什么他，转了得了三了通了年了，这个。 타마 치바이네 다 자주가 서다 돈이 좀 셔라 개베게네 투기라 쪼투와 지기 삽자다 어디르겠다 쟤네 와체체 어디르체.
And so we know that thinking in this way is very much based on our imagination and aspiration, and of course we simply do not attain such exalted states just like that. However, in my dedication, I sincerely dedicate so that I will do whatever I can to attain that state of enlightenment, seeing that it is absolutely necessary that I do so. And therefore, I am fully dedicated to laying down the proper causes to reach that state, namely the integration of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness into everything I do, whether I'm eating or drinking or moving or sitting or sleeping or in good times, in bad times, when I'm sick, when I'm old, and particularly even when I'm at the point of death. I will not ever give up this motivation, but always do everything I see, everything I do to see all situations as being conducive to enhancing the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. Lai ma sa ye ju ju nei zhō ba jī ya ma lü
Gui Parai
Har Shu Jan Ju
Anjo Sen Jo Rinpoche Ma
Ma
Ye Ba Nama Ke Juro
Ke
Ke Ba Nyam
Nyam
Ba Me
Ba Me
Ba
Pa Yang
Go
Gong
Me Gon
Gong
Do
Du
Me
Pe
Wara
War Shu
Do Nye
Yi
Da
Da
Ma
Wo Rinpoche Ma
Ke
Ke Pa
Ba Nama
Nam
Ke
Ki
Juro
Gu Chi
Ke
Ke Pa
Ba Nyam
Nyam
Ba Me
Ba Me
Ba
Pa Yang
Go
Gong
Gon
Gong Du
Do Me
Pe War
Wara
Shu
Karya Ramya
Yahweh
Kage
Korben
Chenanda
Shikam
Tenda
Pendan
Dewa Malu
Nikolam
Jovan Chelia
Penre
Sanwa
Sigmon
Tenzin
Tenzin
Jato
Gyatso Yin Tape Site
Sita
Bar Du
Bhakti
Tengyo Chi
Mea Mea
Rume Tse Wei
Mea
Te
Jaya Jaya
Ten
Jaya
Ten
Mea
Rime
Mea Jaya
Gempe Wang
Oh,
Po Jam Pel Yang
God,
Gong Chen Gen Pei Tzu Tien Tong Ka Pa Lo Sang Kai Ke Sha Lo So Wa De Mig Me Tse Wei Te Chen Chen Pe Si Ri Me Pe Wang Po Jam Pe Liang Gong Chen Ken Pei Tzu Tien Tong Ka Pa Lo Sang Kai Pei Sha Lo So Wa De Mig Mei Tse Wei Ten Chen Rime Gempe Wang Po Jam Pel Yang Gong Chen Ken Pei Tzu Tien Tong Ka Pa Lo Sang Kai Pei Sha Lo So De. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence. And Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception. Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows. Losang Drakpa, at your feet, I make requests. So,
That's no touch.
that's
Jama
all.
Sani Madel Yonsamari Tade, Kishi Doga with Tenshur Shanga Yorosa.
And
Sani Danda Chig Sani Machorba,
that's all.
Sani Madel